Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites for you to understand. Then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by their respected companies. Recently, during the last event, a few people got trapped inside of the Speed Force. This gave each of them powers of their own, Speed Force-based powers. While this could have been the beginning of an amazing group of Speed Force-based superheroes, they didn't last very long, because they're being killed by somebody. Someone who appears to move quickly, someone who's wearing a lightning bolt on his chest. And poor Marissa, one of the women who gained Speed Force powers, dies at the start of our tale, as shards of metal are thrown around her at light speed, causing so many cuts that she just dies from the amount of blood loss. Barry Allen runs through the city just reflecting on everything he's been through recently. Guerrillas invaded his city, the rogues are teaming up against him, being trapped in the Speed Force, and even his former friends showing up with weird cloning powers. But he's running through the city right now trying to figure out the latest problem. People have been dying. The 4 people who were granted Speed Force powers were Albert, Marissa, Gomez, and Iris West, the reporter that he's been getting closer to recently. Well, Barry Allen can actually sense them all within the Speed Force, but now Albert and Marissa are dead, and he has no clues as to what's going on or who could have possibly have done this. Well, Gomez was actually the first one to discover that there was somebody trying to kill them, and Gomez actually warned Albert before he was killed. So Albert created a 360-degree camera that would actually be able to track Speed Force speeds so that he can try and catch this killer. Not gonna lie, it's a bit convenient for Barry Allen's investigation, but Barry does find the camera and he hits playback on the time where Albert died to see if he can see who killed him. Well, after slowing down the speed of the footage, we only get to see one thing, a reverse lightning bolt symbol that is very similar to the Flash's own symbol. So he thinks long and hard. Who could possibly be using his symbol? And he realizes he does know somebody that's using his symbol, that Kid Flash in the Teen Titans. Well, the Flash has never actually met this Kid Flash. Kid Flash just showed up one day and he took the Flash's name and his symbol. Just not cool in the superhero community. So it's time for them to have a heart-to-heart, as it would seem. And after watching the news reports to see wherever the Kid Flash is going to pop up, he quickly tracks him down and we have a top-speed speedster chase. The Flash shows up quickly to chase down Kid Flash and get his answers. But Kid Flash, well, he runs. The two of them run around the world and they eventually end up in France, where the Kid Flash runs through the Louvre so he can throw the art off the walls, trying to distract the Flash while he catches them. Well, Barry Allen quickly catches all of them, and he just scoffs at how the Kid Flash has no respect for art. And with that, they continue around the world until they end up in the Sahara Desert, where Kid Flash runs so fast that he kicks up all of the sand, creating a sandstorm, so that he can lose the Flash in that. But Barry Allen just laughs at this. Kid Flash is not going to lose him that easily, but he does let him get a little ahead of him. Kid Flash eventually ends up in India, where he hides so he can try and have a bite to eat, and he calls in somebody to come pick him up, since he lost Barry Allen. And just as he says that, Barry Allen shows up and he grabs Kid Flash by the wrist. But that wasn't such a good idea, as a bolt of lightning shoots up into the sky. Barry gets to see into Kid Flash's future, and he realizes this kid is from the future, or something. He's not tapping into the Speed Force, he's tapping into something else. Scared out of his mind right now, Kid Flash takes off at top speed to go around the world one more time, and they begin to run over the ocean. The Flash begins to yell out, "Slow down, Kid Flash, you're gonna break gravity." But Kid Flash just looks back and laughs. "Too fast for you, old man?" as he breaks into a new tier of speed. But Barry was right, as Kid Flash is now running so fast that he no longer has the friction resistance to hold him to the ground, and he begins to float up into space aimlessly. Just as Barry Allen kicks it up a notch easily, going faster than Kid Flash so he can jump up and pull the kid back down to Earth before they both float up into space. Kid Flash finally calms down and he asks him, "What do you want?" So Barry explains that there's been a killer going around killing people who can tap into the Speed Force, but since Kid Flash doesn't tap into the Speed Force, he can't be the killer. But Barry does ask him, "Where did you get your powers? And where are you from? Because when I touched you, I saw some weird stuff." But that just puts Kid Flash on the defensive, refusing to tell Barry anything and refusing to help him. And after Barry offers to help Kid Flash try and figure out his own powers and where he's from, he just tells Barry that he has his own friends for that, and he leaves, calling Barry just a loser. Barry realizes that the Kid Flash is just a stubborn kid, whom he'll have to help out later. But this doesn't help him at all figure out his current situation. Who is the killer that's been killing off people who can tap into the Speed Force? To make matters worse, while Barry was chasing the Kid Flash around the world, Gomez, one of the last two remaining civilians with powers, was murdered by the Reverse Flash. Which only leaves Iris left for this Reverse Flash to try and find and murder. Well, the Flash does a little math of his own and he realizes that the suit that he made to keep himself safe, well, it must also be masking his Speed Force tracings from the killer. So he makes Iris West a Flash suit of her own, and after receiving a few funny comments about how it's really tight on her, he takes her with him to test how well it can mask her while they go do some investigating at the location where they all came out of the Speed Force. Eventually, after doing a lot of investigating, the Flash and Iris find a piece of a monorail at the site. Interesting. So they quickly run back to the police station where the Flash leaves her in their protection while they look for fingerprints on this piece of the monorail. While they're investigating this, let's move for a second to Dr. Elias. If you remember very early on in our Flash stories, Dr. Elias was trying to study the Flash and his powers to the point of threatening the Flash's life. Well, Dr. Elias didn't vanish. No, he's actually been tapping into the Speed Force ever since that day, and he's pooled up all of this power into a device where he hopes to find a way to use it. But that's exactly what the Reverse Flash wants, a bounding supply of the Speed Force that he can absorb. You see, he hasn't just been killing off the people who can tap into the Speed Force, he's been absorbing their powers, and as the Reverse Flash makes his move to kill Dr. Elias, the Flash jumps in with a speedster punch. The two speedsters, one evil and one good, begin their dance of speed fighting. Dr. Elias can't even see what's going on, it's moving so quickly, but the Flash may have met his match, as the Reverse Flash doesn't just move quickly, he moves in and out of time, and he gets the upper hand on the Flash. That is until Dr. Elias hits the Reverse Flash hard with a weapon from his lab, allowing the Flash to get in a sonic kick. But the Reverse Flash isn't done, and the Flash asks him, "Why are you doing this? Why are you killing off people with Speed Force powers?" Well, the Reverse Flash grabs the Flash by the stomach and they take their speedster fight into the streets, as the Reverse Flash explains. Everyone who's a part of the Speed Force shares the same power, and by removing everyone, I'll be at my fullest power, and I'll be able to move back time. I'll be able to change everything. But the Flash asks him, why? As Reverse Flash tears into him, destroying bits and pieces of Central City as they move so fast that just being near glass shatters it. The Flash realizes that this is going bad very quickly, and he takes the fight outside of Central City at speeds that no one can even register. But one man has been registering it. One man has been chasing them with his laser rifle. Dr. Elias uses his motorcycle to catch up to them on the outskirts of Central City. Reverse Flash sees this as his chance, and he finally gets a leg up on the Flash as he grabs Dr. Elias' gun and he looks at the Flash. Checkmate you. But the gun hits Iris West as she yells, "No, Daniel!" You see, she used her speed to get here as quickly as she could because they discovered that the fingerprints on the monorail turned out to be Daniel West, her brother. The beam from the rifle hits Iris in the chest. She falls to the ground dead. Daniel West looks at his fallen sister in shock. What did he do? How did he get to this? How could he kill the sister that he was trying to save? The Flash goes in screaming at the top of his lungs, ready to tear the Reverse Flash apart. But the Reverse Flash is now desperate. He wasn't supposed to kill his sister. And he grabs the Flash by the throat, and he begins to absorb the Flash's Speed Force as he's yelling, "I'll fix this! I'll change everything!" He takes the Flash and he absorbs everything, allowing him to finally go back in time, back to when he was a child. Daniel West looks around at his own past, and he sees the child versions of both himself and Iris. And then he murders his own father to the Flash's horror. His father abused the both of them as children, and he just couldn't deal with it anymore. He needed to prevent it from ever even happening. He wanted to give himself and Iris a good life, a life where they didn't have to deal with their father. He then grabs the Flash by the head as he begins to change and alter into a monster. The Flash says to Daniel, "You need to stop. You're causing yourself more trauma than your father ever did." And Daniel stops. He stops right there because he realizes what he's become. A monster as young Iris and young Daniel look at him with tears in their eyes, terrified as to what is this thing? What just killed their father? And he looks at the Flash and he doesn't know what to do. He's a monster. And the Flash looks up at him and he tells him, "Daniel, What makes us strong isn't going back and correcting things. This is the repercussion for what you're trying to do. There are repercussions for everything that we do. We need to deal with the bad things that have happened to us. That's what makes us stronger. We need to move forward with our lives. You need to let go, Daniel. And Daniel just holds his head down and he says, I don't know how. So the Flash reaches out and he says, let me take it from here. With Daniel finally letting go of his hold on the Speed Force, the Flash is able to absorb all of Daniel's powers, the ability to alter time, to just travel through time, to change things. He even takes on the Reverse Flash's armor as the Speed Force allows the Flash to set right time, to set right the ship. The Flash travels at speeds so fast that he alters time once again, and he manages to keep Daniel from killing his own father and altering the past. He doesn't even know how he did it, and he even states he'll never understand the power that he possesses. Once everything's been fixed and corrected, he takes Daniel and they travel right to the moment they left, right where he finds that Iris has actually survived. She isn't dead, but she is disgusted with her brother. How could he kill all of those people? He must have been possessed by something. But Daniel tells her it was all him, and once he gets his powers back, he'll do it all over again. The Flash quickly looks around at the situation and he sees Dr. Elias preparing to fire that rifle once again at the Flash. But he just runs over and disarms the Doctor and breaks the gun. Our story ends there. The Flash runs off to his current girlfriend Patty, who's been waiting for him this whole time at the dance, and he makes it just in time to be center stage for her. Eventually, he also tracks down Dr. Elias once again and he tells him that the good doctor is lucky that Iris is alive, because if she wasn't, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't have hurt Dr. Elias. But don't try anything again, Doctor. Our partnership is done. Daniel himself is now in Iron Heights with the rest of the Flash villains. Man, he just doesn't see what he did as wrong. He still wants to fix his own past. And the Flash? Well, the Flash is running. He was taught by his mother a long time ago to just move forward and not dwell on the past. We must always move forward. We must always get stronger. And we shouldn't let the past hold us back. If only he could remember that 20 years from now. Thank you for joining us today, and remember to follow us on Twitter at Comicstorian, where we'll chat with you all day and night about your favorite story arcs and ours. I'm Benny, and I'll see you guys next time right here.